And I wanted to make him look believable. It was a very difficult process, the whole transformation. The greatest stamp of approval was when my Apple phone refused to open on face recognition when I was in hair and makeup.
Hello, Abhishek. Hello, Chitrangda. Welcome.
Hi.
The trailer looks great. But first, I think we should just go back to from where it all started. So I want to know from both of you, back in 2012, when you watched Kahani, and Kahani is a remarkable movie in more ways than one. But I want to know from both of you, what was your memory? What is your memory of the film and maybe of the character, Bob Biswas?
Okay. So I saw it much later. I saw the film much later. I guess on TV, and I somehow missed it. But Bob Biswas was interesting, but of course, what stayed with me was Vidya's character, to be honest. And in fact, when we got to know that there was, with our film, when it was Bob's character from Kahani to be, the whole film was going to be about that, I was slightly skeptical because I didn't think like there could be a whole, film on that. But he was so interesting, I guess, to go more into a life of such an ordinary man doing such things, living such a crazy life was interesting. So I guess, then we have what we have today, and we're sitting and talking about Bob Biswas.
I actually saw Kahani only last year. And I only managed to see it during the lockdown after we'd completed about 80% of our filming. So no, I unfortunately didn't see it when it released.
What was your first reaction, Abhishek, when Sujoy Ghosh approached you with the idea of a film based only on a spin-off character from Kahani?
Well, that wasn't the pitch, actually. When he came to me, he just told me that I have a script of a contract killer who's in a coma and comes out without his memory. That was the pitch. So, I wasn't told that it was a spin-off at that point of time. He narrated it to me as just a story of a contract killer who'd lost his memory. And that piqued my interest immediately. It's a very unusual premise to have, and I thought that was interesting. And then obviously he told me Dia was going to direct it, and before reading the script, it was an automatic yes. Because, I'm the kind of person for whom relationships mean a lot more than just professional gain. Dia is Sujoy's daughter. Sujoy is a dear friend. So obviously it was a no-brainer that I was going to be part of that film. I was very thankful that when I read the script, it was just an excellent script. It was a brilliant script, and dare say, relieved. I'd already said yes, and I was relieved that it was actually a fantastic character to play as well. And what I really liked about what Sujoy had written and Dia's vision was there was, the entire film and the characters filled with contradictions. We've never seen a contract killer look the way Bob is. We've never seen a contract killer have the personality that Bob does. He's genuinely a very nice guy, and that's not something you associate with a cold-blooded killer. So there were all these wonderful contradictions, which make it very interesting a character to want to portray.
Ragda, I remember you speaking in an interview in last year, I think mid-year, the previous year, that you guys had to abruptly stop shooting due to the lockdown. But how was it? What was resuming shoot for Bob Biswas like after such a long gap?
We didn't have too much of work left. A lot of the film, I think almost 70 to 80% of the film was already shot. So, but yeah, I think we were all slightly worried about the sets more than anything else, because this house that we are in is completely a set. You can't really tell that it's not a real house. So that was anyway a production issue. But other than that, look forward to finishing it, because it was something sort of left dangling in the middle with, not having finished that last bit. Yeah, look forward to it, and was happy that everything was in place. Matlab, wo jo pura ghar set, everything was exactly the way, even through the rains, everything the way we had left it in March, it was exactly the same. So yeah, we were happy to come back and finish it.
What was stepping into the shoes of Saswata Chatterjee, like who, because he made the role, even though it was a cameo, he made the character so memorable and so iconic that we have now a movie only on the character. So even when the trailer came out, everyone on the internet was still sort of going back to, how brilliantly he played it. So what was it like stepping into his shoes?
I wouldn't call it stepping into the shoes. That's the refreshing and the nice part about Bob Biswas. Since he's somebody who's lost his memory, we created a new character, obviously with certain characteristics and physicalities were similar. But the fun about this was that we had the liberty to do our own interpretation of it. So I've never looked upon it as stepping into anybody's shoes. I've always looked upon it as creating a new character.
Speaking about the character, like you mentioned also that he's a lot different than what the bad guys or contract killers are portrayed as on screen. Portrayed as two extremes, they're either dangerous, terrible gangsters, or they're extremely cool, good-looking, James Bond-like characters, and which have a looming Western influence on them. But Bob is a middle-aged man with a pot belly and a sarkari naukri with the frustrations of a common man. And now that you in some way had a clean palette to dive yourself into the character, what did you want to make the character look like?
I wanted to make him look believable. I think that was of paramount importance to Dia and myself. Bob was somebody I really wanted, that you could be sitting next to him on a train and you wouldn't know who he is, what he does, or believe what he does. He is the quintessential common man, from his appearance to the way he moves, to the way he speaks, to everything. So, I was very clear that we wanted to achieve something which not only is believable, but also is a huge departure for me from what I've looked and felt like in all my films. And I'd like to believe we achieved that. And I'm very proud of that. I think it was a very difficult process, the whole transformation. And there was a lot of hard work to maintain it. And I'm so happy that we've achieved it because, like I said in a previous interview, I think the greatest stamp of approval was when my Apple phone refused to open on face recognition when I was in hair and makeup, and that goes to show that you've done something that's new and different. So that's the quest. My quest was to make him believable, to make him lovable, for doing what he does. The whole challenge, I think one of the biggest challenges of the script was, can we make him lovable and can we make the audience root for him? That's the most important. If we can get the audience to back this guy and get behind him and root for him, then I think we've won.
Chitrangda, for you, since we didn't know much about Bob Biswas's wife through Kahani, so sure there'll be a lot more characters in the film that are not from Kahani.
Oh yes.
But since since you play such a pivotal role in the character's life too, so what was the infusion of your character in this somewhat already existing world of the character like?
It was, it's like you said, there's no reference to who she was or how she was. But and also then again, how Abhishek said, it's entirely new script, so to speak, with the reference of course, the person, the character, Bob Biswas. So it was entirely what was written in the script. How Mary was written in the script is how I've played it. And the writer, so Joy Ghosh, and of course the director Dia was very, very clear about how she is, how she's not going to get all melodramatic about all the wrongs that she's gone through in her life, how she's so practical, but she's emotional, but she loves him. And, but at the same time, she would, fight the daily whatever issues in her life, and she's very practical and sensible, how a middle-class woman just has to be. There is no luxury of getting melodramatic about things that are happening or too emotional. So there was that balance that you had to have. And and she's been waiting for these 11 years to have Bob come back to her, from the coma. So there is that backstory to it. And she's been looking after the kids, and she's been, that's what she's been doing, just waiting and running the house the best she can and keep herself sane. So I did exactly what was written in the script. Sorry, I just 1 second. Was it 11 years that you were in? I just keep saying that because this is the backstory.
Was it what?
11 years
Where?
in coma.
We've not specified.
Oops. Okay, no, so that was just a conversation that my director and my writer had with me to just to give me a sense of how she's probably spent a lot of.
We've not kept a timeline of sorts.
No, there is no
for the film.
timeline. Sorry.
So
Yeah, I just.
we've left it open-ended for the viewers to decide: is this before Kahani or after Kahani?
So I'm just
Is the film a prequel to his character in Kahani or a sequel to what?
Download Z5, watch Bob Biswas on Third, and come to know.
Yes.
and decide for yourself. Yeah.
Since 2020, you really have ventured into the OTT space, and you also completed 20 years in Bollywood last year. So far, your experience and your work in the digital space been like, and now that even Bob Biswas is having an OTT release despite theaters reopening.
My experience thus far has been very rewarding. I think it's a wonderful medium. It's a wonderful platform. Yes, at some level you can't complain as long as you can get your work out to the intended audience. You should be happy. This is now going to be my third film that releases on a streaming platform, and I have a web series last year called Breathe. So it's a medium which I enjoy very much. Having said that, I think it is very different from the cinemas. I think I've waxed eloquent about this several times. I think the entire approach and writing process for a web series and for film are very different. To a certain extent, that is far reduced in a movie that is available on an OTT platform as opposed to a theatrical release. And now more so after the lockdown and COVID and the theaters, slowly limping its way back to normalcy, I think there's a very different requirement. I think there is certainly a requirement for a film that goes direct to OTT. And I think we're all very lucky. Bob Biswas was intended as a theatrical release. And then as most of the film industry, we were also stuck in the middle of the lockdown. Like Chitrangda said, we had to wait for almost 10 months to be able to get back onto set. But I think we're very lucky because the subject matter is something which I'd like to believe can universally be accepted in theaters or on OTTs. And I think you're very lucky if you can do that. We will start to notice now, as the filtration process becomes more elaborate, that there's certain movies that are made for the big screen which might not translate to the OTT platforms and the audiences that want to consume content there, and vice versa. That's going to start, I think, right now, because for the last year, OTT platforms have been the only platform available to us to exhibit our work. Everybody's on it right now, but I think slowly, as water finds its own level, you'll realize that there is a certain kind of liking to subjects and content on this platform, and that filtration process will start now. I think we're very lucky because it's very normal when you've made a film for the big screen and it then has to have a release on OTT platforms due to circumstances that you feel, I wanted it to be on the screen. I think with Bob Biswas, I don't think anybody's going through those pangs because that the subject matter is perfectly suited for what people are consuming on OTT platforms.
Chitrangda, for you, any OTT projects that you saw?
No, I don't. I've had a few come my way, but I'm still waiting for something. I'd love to. I would absolutely love to, but I haven't really found the perfect one yet. But I'm looking forward to being on it.
Talking of theaters reopening too, I think I just have to ask that Bunty or Bubbly is out, and when the trailer was out, I just had by default go back and watch the few songs that I love from Bunty and Bubbly. And for me, Abhishek, the movie was, I was actually very, I was a kid when I watched Bunty or Bubbly.
We believe you, don't worry.
Yeah, so yeah, the film for me was a lot of you and Rani. But what are your thoughts on the film now? And have
I've
you
not
gone
seen
back?
the film
Okay.
yet. I look forward to seeing it. It's made by dear friends of mine, and I wish them all the best as always.
All right. So
Thank
much
you.
for taking the time out.
Thank
It
you,
was great.
Aishwarya. Take care. I hope you enjoyed the
Thank
film.
you.